And I think another dimension of the exhaustion that parents experience is that, especially when a child has a rather complex illness, and there are a lot of subspecialists involved, it is not uncommon for subspecialists to come in to the room and, throughout a conversation with a family, offer their view, their perspective, and their advice. Then to have another one come in and say something that sounds contradictory, right? And so often this is at a very high level of medical information, right? And when I experience parents who are stressed out, this is often the experience that they articulate. You know, the GI doctor came in, or the GI fellow came in, and he said that the plan is to do this. However, an hour later, the neurology team came in, and they said the plan is to do something else. And that is very frustrating and really emotionally exhausting for parents. And what I try to I try to intervene if I can, or I try to contact the physicians that I work with and say, is there a way that you can try to sort this out by contacting these physicians? However, I will say to parents, now, mind you, this is dependent on their capacity at the moment, because sometimes when one is incredibly stressed and incredibly exhausted, one can't advocate for oneself, and that's when a parent can say, hey, can you help me out? However, there are some times when parents do want to engage with the vast team. And in those instances, I think that parents can say to the neurologist who walked in, help me out, because the GI doctor said something that was quite different from what you just said. Is there a way that you two can communicate? Can you guys communicate and then get back to me with what the plan is? And it's unfortunate that parents have to manage parents sometimes manage the team. But that's the way it is in large academic medical centers.
And you talked about, I think you said advocacy or advocate, and it's hard sometimes to speak up. And I, as a hospital caregiver, I want families to know they're not alone in the journey, that there are designated people on the care team that they can call upon for assistance. There are child life specialists, there are chaplains for spiritual support, there are social workers for psychosocial support, and there's probably the largest advocate is the child's bedside nurse. And one of the keys and one of the greatest challenges that I observe for families is to be able to, in a moment of crisis, to be able to articulate, to speak about what is challenging. So if if different teams of providers are giving different messages, if a family can share that directly with the providers and perhaps with the nurse and say, I need help, I'm getting mixed messages. So to identify that there's an issue, a problem that the family is encountering, that's perhaps the best thing that a family could do, is to speak that out loud to someone that can do something. And that would include the nurse and any of the support services staff, as well as the physicians.
Right. Just one thing about confidence and trust. If you do find yourself in a situation where different providers are saying different things, I would say that I don't think that's an indication that you should lose trust in the team, because I do see that often parents think, oh, these folks are incompetent because they're saying separate things. I think it's good to acknowledge the complexity of medicine and how subspecialized physicians are, and that if, to the extent that you can facilitate communication, then the results of their discussions will be incredibly rich.